hindsight, all I've really had to say about the game the past few times that I've uploaded has really just been mostly negative. And I feel some type of way about that. Some of you guys have been getting on my ass, not just in my comments, but in my DMs, telling me that I should just chill out, you know, stop being so like doomer and negative all the time. And low-key, I kind of understand where you're coming from. So in this video, I kind of want to shift a little bit from, you know, criticism of the game and things that have been happening in the game, and I guess just talk more about the future. Holotide really wasn't that big of a deal to me, and I honestly, I know I'm not the only one complaining about like the demon step and everything, and I know that I'm not the only one complaining about the authority origin, but I think we're at the stage now where they're just kind of here to stay. So in hindsight, the more I think about it, there's really no fucking point in making these kinds of videos. Like I don't mean to just put down the game, all right? And if you're fucking enjoying it, hell yeah. Frankly, the last time I hopped on the game, I was actually having a really good time. The thing is, Deepwoken videos are pretty much the only thing that do any kind of numbers on my channel, and that is the bottom line. My mentality towards Deepwoken though, it's completely candid. Everything that I'm talking about is authentically my opinion. I'm not just doing this solely to like spread negativity about the game. That's never been my intention, okay? I just want to make that clear first and foremost. I just want to get that out of the way, and we can actually move on to the real content of the video. Verse 3. I keep talking about it, and you know, it's a given. It comes with the territory of this being the new freshest thing about Deepwoken to talk about. I think the thing about verse 3 compared to verse 2 is that verse 2 came with fundamental changes to the gameplay, and I think that right now the game's in a pretty healthy spot in terms of like core gameplay mechanics and everything. And so it seems like when it comes to verse 3, the plan is to just add more content, just keep adding content into the game, and that's cool. I was talking about this with some friends earlier, but like it seems like the best updates that come out for Deepwoken are usually like the quality of life or like core gameplay changes, like recently the sailing update and stuff like that is awesome. I'm super excited to see more and more changes like that coming, because they've been coming slowly and slowly over the past like 2 years. Like we've had so many updates to the mission system, you know, the progression, experience gain, etc., that I think make the game a lot more streamlined. I didn't even put that many hours into the game in the past 2 weeks. I'm not too good at like making builds in this game anymore. I'm not really too good at Deepwoken in general these days. I don't know, man. Like it's pretty demoralizing to get to like the end of making a build and then realize something's off, or like I'm not super happy with how it came out. And that's really the big turnoff for me, because every time that happens, I just have to go through it all over again. You know what I mean? It feels like starting over a game from scratch after getting like close to the end and you lost all your save data. It's like, fuck man, like I don't want to do this again. And I've tried so many times to suck it up and just like record videos and stuff. Actually, as a matter of fact, I have like a cool like 150 gigabytes of Deepwoken footage from me trying to like go through the progression process over and over, just not really having enough energy to make the videos entertaining, not really enjoying myself as much as I would like to be. And after some soul searching, I guess the thing that I really needed was something to shake up the game and make it feel fresh, and I really don't think that the authority origin was doing that for me, and I think that's what I really wanted it to do. So I honestly think that's where all the negativity is coming from. But given the stuff that they were talking about in the Q&A and everything on the roadmap, I think the main thing that I'm super excited for, which is the title of this video, probably why you clicked on it, Vow of Iron. Vow of Iron is supposed to be like a hardcore game mode for Deepwoken, I think. There's very limited information about any of this stuff, and I think that's just kind of like a thing that we have to deal with when it comes to this game. Very secretive about like the upcoming updates. Like we get like maybe names or like ideas of what the plans are, and in that Q&A they gave us some details, but there's really no way of knowing what this Vow of Iron thing is gonna look like until it's actually out. So according to Rag during the Q&A, he said something about this mode being a lot more viable for like gimmick builds, and I'm not entirely sure what that means. The first thing that I want to address is that I think Rag mentioned something about like in the main game, gimmick builds aren't really possible, and honestly, I don't really agree. I do agree that, you know, gimmick builds are pretty fucking troll. Like you're not going to be climbing to like Godseeker using a really gimmicky build. Like most people in those ranks are going to be very optimized, having the most like HP they can possibly have, highest damage they can possibly have, and probably the easiest combos they can possibly use. Maybe not easiest, but I guess most consistent is probably the best way to put it. And with like PvP score and stuff like that added to the game, people are also making like ganking builds and stuff like that are like super high mobility or like very spammy and stuff. But I don't think the people who are making builds just for the love of the game, trying to make cool shit, they don't get enough love, because I've seen plenty of people make builds like that. All of my friends make builds like that. I don't see, well, I guess I have a homie that I know for sure is making like optimized like Godseeker style builds, but for the most part, the fun with Deepwoken for me came with making builds that are like based off of like characters from like novels or like anime or whatever the hell, and just like sparring with the homies using those builds. Like that's really the most fun that I've had with Deepwoken. But Vow of Iron seems to be an attempt at like trying to alleviate the fact that the progression isn't super interesting, and that it's really honestly in Deepwoken, like the main game, you're just trying to make builds for the sake of this like sparring or chime or whatever the hell, maybe even PvE to farm for your PvP builds. What I'm really hoping for Vow of Iron is that it's actually a fun means of progression. Like I really don't want Vow of Iron to be just another version of the game where progression is just a thing that you do to get to the end game, because progression itself is like the main part of the gameplay, and I think that should be personally the most engaging part of the game. And everything I'm hearing so far about Vow of Iron makes it really seem like that's really what they're going for, and I'm super excited for that. But honestly, even if Vow of Iron is just making the progression of the game more fresh, it'll make it more fun, just hands down. In a perfect world, I think Deepwoken would have been released like this. Honestly, I think that like the vision that I'm hearing for Vow of Iron is pretty much exactly how I wanted the game to be from jump. But then again, like I'm saying this and I have no idea what the fuck the game mode's gonna look like. Like there's like, again, very limited information. I really hope we get like another direct style thing where they showcase Vow of Iron, maybe a whole fucking gameplay start to finish. I doubt that though. That'd be like a several hour video, especially if it's anywhere near as hardcore as the name Vow of Iron makes it fucking sound. You know what I mean? The point I'm trying to make is that this is the most interesting thing to me about verse 3 that has been announced outside of like obviously layer 3 and the divergences. And I know they're not going to tell us everything, because why would they? But I just love to know more about this, like what it's going to look like, what the plan is for it, how it's going to play, whether or not it's going to be much different from actually just playing the game normally. I mean, I hope so. That's the thing. I don't know how much more fundamentally different they could make it to where it would make it as interesting as I'm hoping it is. I think I'm setting my expectations too high for this. And it's really easy to do that though when there's not enough information about what this is going to fucking look like. Am I wrong for that? I don't know. Look, man, I'm feeling pretty in the dark. I won't lie. I think the reason that Deepwoken felt so good on release is that it was undergoing constant testing for like weeks or months at a time, and that there were players giving constant feedback on the changes before they were actually released to the public. And I don't think that Deepwoken verse 3 is really being treated in that same way, but I don't know, because I'm not in the tester Discord anymore. I left because I thought I was quitting the game for good. Well, fuck it, here I am. I'm back. So fuck, I don't know. To be honest, for content updates like layer 3 or like the Authority Origin, they have to be released in this way, right? They make it and they just put it in the game and people try it out and see if they like it or not, right? But for something like Vow of Iron, where it seems to be so like different and it's supposed to be something so fresh and new, I feel like it wouldn't be such a bad idea to have like an early access or something. The thing is, right, like Vow of Iron is so far probably the most hyped up thing about verse 3, even though layer 3 is on the chopping block. I feel like that is like Rag's baby or somebody's baby. I don't know, man. I don't think he's the only one working on it, but I think it's just like the thing that this dude thinks is gonna like give people the experience they're looking for from the game without taking too much away from the main game, which is just not possible at this point because of how like deeply rooted the player base is into the current way of progression and stuff. I hope that wasn't too wordy. Let me just fucking re-summarize in case I lost you there. What I'm trying to say is Vow of Iron, I think, is supposed to be almost like a new version of Deepwoken, whereas the main game, it's just got too much like stocks, you know what I mean? Too many people have played it for too long and they can't make any major changes to the progression without trivializing current builds, making everybody's build before that point basically unobtainable now, and it just breaks the game. You know, it's not an option anymore. The thing is though, they still are making changes, like fundamental changes to the progression to make it easier or faster or whatever. You know, like that's really the bottom line. I think the main thing that people complain about with Deepwoken is that there's a lot of tedium when it comes to actually going through the process of making a build. And realistically, I don't think you're going to get a much different experience with different ways of progression. Like the Authority Origin is different, but at the end of the day, if you want to actually progress, you're not going to be doing the missions. Those are for ranking up. That's really the case. Like they do give you experience, but like early on, you're not going to be doing those missions to level up because you're not getting as much XP that you need for like different attributes that you would be if you just went out and did a bunch of like island events or like sea events or something, you know? And in my head, Origins were like a way to make different methods of progression feel fresh and new and different every time that you do it. Like you make a new character, you can choose a different origin if you're getting bored of the last one. Like if you don't want to just go through trial of one and then just go fucking farm events or whatever, you could do something like Deep leap bound, or you could do something like the Diluvian mechanism and just do like a wave fighter to progress, even though that shit kind of fucking sucks because you don't really have a good way of getting charisma XP or whatever. But you see my point. I'm getting fucking sidetracked. My point is just that Vow of Iron has the most potential to make the game feel fresh because it's going to be fundamentally different no matter what origin you're picking. So as long as it lives up to that without being too difficult or tedious, maybe not difficult. Difficult in moderation is a good thing. Like if it's difficult, like Dark Souls level difficult, where it's like, okay, this fucking sucks, but if I keep my head on straight, I can probably get through this and learn more and adapt to what I'm like playing through. If it's that level of like difficult, that's fine. I really hope it isn't tedious. I hope it doesn't take longer than the main game, because like at that point it really defeats the purpose. That being said though, I'm super interested based solely on the way that they were talking about it. And you can tell by the way that they were talking about not just Vow of Iron, but the rest of the updates, that they might honestly be learning as well what this is going to look like as they go along. Like they definitely have plans and ideas, but I don't think that they have like a fully fleshed out plan or idea in their head. Whereas Roblox is a platform where people are basically just making games based on their ideas, and in like the actual games industry, and I know I always make this comparison, and I know it's a fucking Roblox game. I hear this all the time, like don't bitch at me about it. But whereas like these are just people making games basically because it's like a passion project for them, right? Most games, they're not going to really like tell you anything about their game until it's done. Look at fucking Silksong. We had bits and pieces of clips and gameplay because they were already basically done enough with the game to where they felt comfortable showing it off because they were already happy with it. I don't think that in terms of any of the updates for Deepwoken, other than verse 2, because verse 2 is probably the closest we've ever gotten to that like structure, I guess, of like, you know, showcase and then like release, you know, like they announced it and it's like, oh, this is coming soon. They didn't give us any information. I honestly think we should go back to that. It sounds crazy, but like people wanted them to be more transparent about the updates they were going to do. But I think the thing is it's just so easy to set expectations. And for Vow of Iron in particular, and for verse 3, these updates, they are really good on paper. Like it sounds like a great plan, but we really don't know what it's going to look like at the end of the day. Before the Authority Origin came out, we had no fucking idea what it was going to look like. But then it comes out and people are slightly disappointed because it doesn't really match the vision that they had in their head for what they wanted it to look like. And that's the trap that I fall into personally. That's probably why I get so disappointed so easily with this game, because I kind of chase these fantasies of like back in the day when I played Deepwoken, back in like the closed testing, back even in the first like release, you know, year of the game. It was immersive enough, like I was so invested in the world that everything just felt so magical. But at the end of the day, when I hop on the game now, it doesn't feel any different than it did back then. It feels like I'm going through the same motions. And the thing is, if Vow of Iron comes out and it elicits that same feeling that I get when I play the game normally today, I'm going to be disappointed. And that is just how it is. I know I said I wanted to stray away from negativity, but you can't really talk about, like, I'm not criticizing content that's already out, so it's different, right, guys? Fuck. You see what, I can't help it. I literally can't help it when it comes to this game. I don't know, man. Maybe I just grew up. Maybe that's the bottom line. Maybe I'm chasing my youth. I'm fucking unk now, bro. Oh, that's cringe. Oh. Like, guys, at least I'm self-aware, right? But honestly, I think I've talked enough about Vow of Iron and my needs, I guess, wishes for it. Not needs, wrong word. My bad, I'm a little sleepy, guys. It's 5 a.m. and I haven't slept yet. But yeah, moving on. Outside of the upcoming updates, like the Ceramide Hollow reworks that are probably going to be coming, Vow of Iron, Layer 3, outside of those updates, I would like to see some more actual changes, like fundamental changes to the game. And I know that too many changes is going to break the game. I get that. But there are certain things about the game that I'm still just not super happy with. I don't have a list, I don't have anything written, and I'm sure you can tell that this video is not scripted whatsoever. But I think that what the game really needs outside of these major updates is just more stuff to do from like level 1 to 20. It seems like they're really dead set focused on adding more endgame content, and that's fine because, you know, it gives people who have already got a lot of experience with the game more to do. But as far as PvE goes, like, I don't think that you're gonna see much different like from a year ago if you go hop on the game right now. Maybe in Aricia, like there are occasional new mobs that come out every once in a while, and these things like the world events that, like, you know, are still basically end game content when you think about it, but they don't really do much in terms of early game content. They don't add much early game or mid game content to the game at all. And I think if they want the game to feel fresher for like existing players and also better for new players, the best way to do that is to literally just add early and mid-game content, which I know is coming way in the future with stuff like Central Luminate and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure, at least. I don't know about no, but I guess more like I think that that's going to be a thing. But the past like few major updates for Deepwoken has been either like a dungeon that you can do that usually you would want to be max level for, like enmity and stuff like that, layer 2 I guess, and those are all things that you want to do like when you're already pretty progressed. All of those major updates didn't really make any changes whatsoever to like the early game or mid game, and I've said that the same fucking exact way like 3 different times I think now. But I think that's what we really need more so than layer 3, which layer 3 is going to be awesome, don't get me wrong, and it's going to have new content for people to get like late game. But the thing is, the game will get really stale even with new late game content unless we add more early or mid game content. I say we. You know what I mean. Fuck, I've been saying this for a while, but new ways to progress. In my verse 3 wish list, this is what I was begging for: new ways to progress, new things to fight while progressing. I don't know if you've ever played Risk of Rain, but if you have, you'll know that game feels different pretty much every time, even though you're basically fighting the same mobs, because these mobs have like different items, modifiers and stuff, things that will make the experience different each time that you play. And stuff like that I think is really, really good for a game like Deepwoken. And so I hope that we see something like that in verse 3. And I don't know if that's ever going to come. I don't know if it's ever going to be a thing, but like, the thing is about Deepwoken compared to every other game that has roguelike elements is that your player, the things that you get are usually, they can be different each time. You know, you can go for different things in the same way that in a roguelike you go for like different like items, or in Hades' case different boons or different like abilities. But the problem is that all of the mobs and stuff that you're fighting, all of the things that you're doing to progress, they will never change. They're usually the same thing. And yes, there are some modifiers like, you know, elemental statuses and stuff that these mobs will be able to like inflict, but that's really the only change. Like, you're not going to see much different. That's why it gets so tedious and stale and repetitive, is because you've been through the same thing, fought these different mobs 100 different times, and usually most people are just trying to do those to get to the end game so that they can do the stuff that's really fun, like PvP or dungeons and stuff like that, world bosses, all that. And in a perfect world, all of it would be fun. Even the stuff leading up to that, it would be so much more fun. And I think a really easy way to do this that wouldn't require them making a fuck ton of different mobs and stuff to fight would just be to add stuff like items or different modifiers for all of the mobs so that they have like a chance to do different things, or even like add new moves and stuff like to these mobs. Do anything like that. Like, just please, anything to shake up the early or mid-game PvE, anything at all whatsoever would be such a welcome change or welcome addition. I think it would make the game infinitely better, because they've already done enough to make it more streamlined and make it like faster, so it's not like a complete tedious slog. If they make these changes or add new stuff that you can do in the early or mid-game, that would change everything. At that point, I would not care about all of the shit that they're adding, all of the authority, you know, shock core, inquisitory, fucking leadership, command, whatever the fuck, all of those talents and stuff that comes with those divisions and stuff that are just like insanely strong, or even the demon step from the Hollowtide stuff. I wouldn't care about that being in the game if the progression itself, going through that to get to the point where you can use this stuff, was just more fun. Moving on though, another change that I'd really love to see is the other faction-based origins, stuff like Voidwalker, and also the divers, the Deepbound origin. I wish that those would get like a refresh to feel a little bit more like the authority origin, so that like, you know, your character is a part of that faction, it comes with benefits and stuff, and realistically that's a layup. That's a lot easier than making a whole new origin like the authority origin, especially with how much effort clearly went into that origin and how much like polish that has in terms of like dialogue and all that stuff. If they could just go over stuff like Deepbound and Voidwalker and make it have more like stuff like the authority origin has, instantly that already makes the authority origin seem like a lot less of like a stretch in the game. It doesn't feel as alien anymore, and that's huge. That's really it, like layup. That's all I have to say about that. I think that would just make the game better, like period. And if changes like these are made in addition to all of the content that's supposed to be coming out with verse 3, as like these updates are pushed out more and more, and we get to see more and more of what they're like planning and stuff, that immediately turns verse 3 from being a little bit underwhelming where it's at right now to becoming like, oh my god, it feels a lot more like verse 2. You know, it's the whole game is different. They're making so many changes and, you know, refreshing the world, refreshing all of the stuff that previously existed, as well as early and mid-game content. Please, like I said, instantly, that's so much better. And as far as other changes go, I don't really know if I have any other in mind, other than I think I mentioned in the last video that I think it wouldn't be such a bad idea if, you know, people could just join these factions and get, you know, talents and stuff like that from the authority origin, or talents from whatever new faction origins come out in the future, so that it doesn't feel so much as like a negative thing, you know, like, because it's really easy to sit there and say, well, okay, so I have to play the the game this specific way in order to get these talents that could be really good on my build. With a simple change like that, the negative feedback is basically gone. Anybody can access this stuff if they really want without too much hassle, other than of course having to rank up and then join the division on their already progressed character. But that would be so much faster when they have a level 20 character they've already made that they just want to get the stuff on. And I don't really think that hurt anything. If there's any reason that that would be a bad idea, please let me know. I really just can't think of one at the moment, but you know, there's probably something I'm missing. I'm pretty fucking good at that. But yeah, dude, that's really about all the changes that I think I would really love to see for verse 3, as well as, you know, all of my thoughts on Valve Iron and stuff like that. So that about summarizes this whole video. Thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope you agree with some of my points, and you know, have a great day. Much love to you all. I appreciate you for sticking through to the end of this video. Again, if you're interested, I have another channel that I'm uploading variety gameplay on and just random commentary videos that I decide whenever I want. No real specific niche or focus, just more of me. That's all it is. And there's a link probably somewhere in my description, or, you know, probably in the end card, and definitely on my channel. So go ahead and take a look if you're interested. And again, much love. Hope you enjoyed.